Not too long ago, maybe 3 or so years ago, I started out. And I was coming from the corporate world where I knew my stuff, like lots of you and lots of other people. But going out and meeting people and learning, because as we all know, entrepreneurship, you do two things. You work and you learn at the same time, right? You're learning and you're working at the same time. You don't get to do one or the other. You get to learn, apply, fail, go back to school, learn, apply, get some things, rework it. And so I was trying to balance all these different acts. And I was going to all the conferences and all the networking events and everything that I could do so that I could learn to apply. And you know, I'd sit there in some of these events and conferences and I'd look at some of the people in the crowd with me, and we all had this glazed look. You know, when you're looking at the presenter and nodding, but you have no idea what that person is talking about. You know, that presentation is just slides of stuff that is just going over your head. I remember sometimes I would go and I'd think, okay, how to market yourself? And I'd sit there and look at Facebook and ClickFunnels, and I wasn't there. And it was very frustrating because I wanted information that I could use right away at where I was. And something that would be genuine for me, something that I would try and would be authentic. And so, not seeing that and not experiencing that, I went out, and this was in 2015, and with a friend of mine, we gathered the people who represented the kind of information that was helpful to me. We got them together, and we came to this room right here. And in 2015, September 17th, that's when the Personal and Professional Pursuit of Excellence was born. It was my first year of business, and I did have a conference, and it wasn't because I thought I was anything great or anything like that. It was because I was looking for specific information and I wasn't receiving it. And isn't it true about entrepreneurship? You go solve a problem because you're experiencing it for the most part. Isn't that true? You know, you have a problem, you look for the solution, you don't find it, and then you think it just can't be me. And so what we have here are people who are inspiring, people who are successful at what they do, people who are highly motivating, but they're so human, they're so reachable, they're so authentic, and they're so real. And so it makes it easy to hear what they're saying, to take their steps, and to apply them to our own businesses. So that's what we're doing here today. Now, how many of you are excited about that? Because I'm sure if you look at the agendas and you see the lineup that we have, you've got to be excited about that lineup. This is the place for you if you are looking to start a business. So you may be in a full-time position, or you may have recently been let go, or you're just thinking forward and you're looking at how the economic climate is and you're thinking, I better start taking care of myself, right? And so you're now looking for that kind of information. This is for you if you have started in business and it's really overwhelming, you don't know what to do, you know you need to be using social media, but you don't know how. You know that you need to be speaking on stages because speaking is the #1 marketing tool, hands down, but you need to know how. There are all these things that you need to know, and you need help making sense. This is for you. This is also for you if you are into personal and professional development. So one of my core values is just learning, and learning to better myself. I'm here on earth. Might as well spend that time doing something useful. And one of the most useful things that I do for myself is getting better. And it's not because I'm looking for any trophies or prizes, it's just because I would just rather get better. And so we're here and we're going to learn, have an open mind, ask questions, meet with each other. You all have amazing stories. You all have amazing ideas, things that you're doing. We have published authors sitting here in this audience. We have masters. We have a lot of amazing people here today. So please have an open mind, enjoy yourselves. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to dive in real quick into something that I call identifying your ideal client. And just going to help you out real quick with that so that we can then move on to our keynote speaker. How does that sound? Good? All right. Now, this is what we're going to do before we do this. And I'm really glad that Rosa is here in the crowd. Rosa, hi. Now, if you've ever been to one of Rosa's networking workshops, she teaches you how to network effectively. And so we're going to get rid of that question, what do you do? So today we're not asking each other, what do you do? How many of you have already asked that? How many do you have? Yeah, just put your hands up. It's okay. All right, we're here to learn. So we're not going to do that. So what we're going to do for about 1.5 minutes for as many people as you can, you're going to ask each other interesting questions. Now, don't take too long with the answer, because sometimes we get really self-involved. Someone will ask a question to build rapport, and we think that, yeah, this is my 15 minutes. I'm going to tell you my life story. It's that interesting. No, we're going to just turn to each other, and we're going to ask each other a couple of questions. So one of the questions we're going to ask each other is, what brought you to this event today? And thanks to Rosa, this is something that she reminded us about yesterday, and again, in one of her workshops. Key questions that really open up, that allow you to connect authentically. So we're going to have about 1 minute of music, and we're going to find out from each other, what brought you here today? Another question that you can ask each other and find out is, what makes you unique? Another question that you can ask each other is, what's your passion? What sets you on fire? Ask each other those questions for that 1 minute, and you're going to see how the energy in this room is going to change. So as I mentioned before that, I was looking out for networking events and conferences and information that would help me. So that was on the learning part. Now came the doing part, and this is something that a lot of you may identify with. I knew my products, I knew my services, I knew my worth. I had 17 years of experience doing what I do, which is helping people make more money, but really specifically focusing on their needs and then fitting them with their solutions. I knew all that, and I knew to go out and look for them, but I was having a really hard time making those connections. I would go to networking events and I would think to myself, okay, this is the one. This is the one that I'm going to return, and I'm going to have amazing qualified leads, and they're going to lead into sales. Of course, that didn't happen. And like a lot of new entrepreneurs, a lot of dollars was spent going to all sorts of networking events. I'm sure we've all been there, and different events. And just learning from the events that you go to which one is a better fit or not. But I still wasn't making that connection. There was a type of client that I was looking for that was ideal for me, and he or she seemed elusive. So I was getting clients, yes, but they were not the kind of clients that I wanted. I was not getting the kind of clients that got me all fired up. The ones that you finish a phone conversation with, or a meeting, face-to-face meeting with, and you're like, yes, this is why I do what I do. No. Instead, I found myself thinking, you really left the government job for this? Because I had just left 7 years working for Canada Revenue Agency, and I used to work with sole proprietors, partnerships, corporations, small, medium businesses. And before that, I worked for several Fortune 500 companies. And yeah, the pay was great, and there were a lot of benefits there. But my heart was not alive. My soul was not alive. I was slowly dying, as I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. And so come over to this stage, and I seem to be attracting those kinds of clients, or those kinds of meetings, where I'd look at my appointment book and I'd think, okay, so we have this call that we have to make, and I wasn't excited. And so like any good person out there, I went and I started to study. I went and I took all the courses I could. I went and I looked for all the information in the world, because I was thinking, I gotta fix this problem, because I know myself. I am going to find what I want, because I must love what I do. I just must love what I do. I must. And if I don't love this, we need to fix something. We need to find the problem. Why am I not connecting? Why am I not finding my ideal client? I know what I bring to the table. I know who I am. Why am I not finding my perfect person? And so I spent all this time online, and I spent hours and days, and I was just looking at information and trying different things, and it wasn't working. And then one day I just sat back. It was about 2 in the morning on one of those days when you've just been on the internet, just chasing link after link after link and reading everything and trying to see what you could apply. And then I thought to myself, okay, Julia, take a break. Let's turn off our left brain for a second here. That analytical look at information and crunch it. Let's stop. What's your background? I'm like, oh, and I started listing off, my CRA and Fortune 500 and schools and this, and I was like, no. What's your background? And I said, oh, I'm a writer. And so I look at the world as stories, and I look at people as stories and pictures, and I always see motion pictures, which is why I did film, which is why I took writing. Those are the things that I did in school. So I said, okay, so that's your background. I said, yeah, but that has nothing to do with this. I need to find my ideal client. I need to find my perfect person. This is not working. And then I thought, wait, but let's use the right side, right? Let's tell a story. Tell me about your client. I'm like, I did. Here's the demographics, here's the analytics. No. Tell me about your client. What was your client doing before this problem came up? How did your client feel? What was your client doing to solve the problem? Because we always compensate as human beings. If you have a problem and you're not looking for a solution, you will always compensate until the point where you can't. So for example, you will stay in miserable jobs until you can't. Or you will keep compensating until you find a way to just make it work. We're always looking for that perfect equilibrium. It's just in our genes, it's just the way we are. And you know this from different things that you do, right? And I said, okay, so tell me what makes your client happy. How does your client escape? So if your client has not found a solution, what does your client do to escape or to compensate? And so I started to write out the story. And as I wrote the story, my passion, my love, my desire for what I was doing came alive. Because suddenly this person was so real, realer than he or she had ever been before. Because I knew what he or she would do when distracted, I knew where to go to reach that person. Because I knew what he or she was thinking right at the moment of awareness of a problem, I knew what kind of information to present that person. And so I set out on an experiment and I said, I'm giving myself 30 days. Let's see how this works. And within 30 days, I had built up my list, I had doubled my income, and I had gotten the ideal person that I wanted to work with. In technical terms, this is called a buying cycle. How many of us are familiar with a buying cycle? And the buying cycle is understanding the journey that your client takes from the beginning to purchase. But what I was able to do was to understand it in a way that made sense to me and that was easily digestible. And so I took this exact same formula that I used and I broke it up. And then I put it on my website, juliakatsivo.com. And I said, it's there, it's free. So if you go to juliakatsivo.com, you're going to see this button. It'll say, yes, sign up now. You just need your name, your email address, and the list, the broken down list is yours. It's there for you to use. And I encourage you to use it because it's going to save you time and it's going to save you money. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let you take 30 seconds because I do want you to succeed and we need you to succeed. And I need you to do this for me. Go on juliakatsivo.com and get that free template. It's free, use it, use it. It will change your life. It will save you a lot of trauma going on social media, seeing what people are posting and thinking, how do I do the same thing? Or what should I do? Enough with the questions. Use this over the weekend and get back to me and tell me what you think. We've gotten aha moments out of this. And then to make this better, you're also going to go over to that amazing booth over there and you're going to sign up for a free appointment to talk to me. Because it's one thing to get your aha moment, but it's quite another to know how you're going to now attract the people. So for example, you may find out that your client likes to distract him or herself on Facebook. So that's great. Now, how are you going to get that person's attention? It may not necessarily work that you go on there and say, are you tired? Are you bored? Come talk to me. Because we don't identify through our problems. We intrinsically like to think of ourselves as doing well or not as part of a problem group. So there's specific language that you must use that only your ideal client uses. There's specific words that will trigger in them, oh, I need to speak with this person. There's specific words that you use to let the person know whether you're providing more information or whether you're providing a solution. And there are different stages for that as well. And that's why that conversation is really important. Do you see that? So you have that download and you have the conversation. And if we do this before the beginning of December, we can start setting you on the right path. So take this information that I'm giving you, as well as the information that you're going to receive from the other speakers that are here today, as well as your one-on-one appointments, connecting with the sponsors, and make this work for you. Make this work for you, right? So I'll give you a moment. get you on that juliakatsivo.com is we have 3 different stages that we think of when we have our clients. And they're broadly described as this. The first stage is awareness. And in this particular stage, which is broken down further if you go to juliakatsivo.com and sign up for the free template, this is the stage when a person is just getting into the realm of awareness that there is a problem. So the example we're going to use is a headache and Tylenol. I'm not an advocate for Tylenol. I just happen to use the example because it's a well-known product. Let's assume that Julia woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning with a bit of a headache. I am in awareness. I am aware that I have a headache. Now, what a lot of entrepreneurs tend to do is to show up at 5 o'clock in the morning and say, Julia, here's a painkiller. And then they wonder why they're not getting sales. But when I give that example, can you see why maybe you wouldn't get that sale? I am in the awareness stage. I am aware that I have a headache. This is important to know because sometimes when you hear what someone is saying to you, you immediately leap on them and you're like, I have the solution for you. Sign up and let's speak. That person doesn't want to buy your services. They're in the awareness stage. Now, when you know this stage really well, what you're going to do is you're going to focus on providing information, general information, information. So as an example, Tylenol will not say, oh, we're the people who will solve your problem. No. What they might say is, did you know that there are 5 key ingredients in the whole world? By the way, I'm making this up. Did you know that there are 5 key ingredients in the whole world that solve headaches naturally? And they're found in Brazil, Kenya. I'm from Kenya, so I have to throw that in. Brazil, Kenya, Mexico, Canada, like that. So for the person who's reading this information, it's interesting, isn't it? To know that we have 5 natural painkillers in the world and where they're from. That's interesting information. And you'll keep that information. And maybe you'll share it down the line with someone else, but that's it. That is appropriate information. So when you know this, you will know not to spend your time trying to close on someone at that stage. This is now where you look at your marketing efforts and you say, where does this person get their information from? Where can I meet them? And what can I tell them? So the second part is consideration. The second broad group is consideration. And at this stage, the person is well aware of the problem, and you know what? They need help now. So if we're going back with our example, Julia has a headache, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, and she needs to be here speaking. It's now 9 o'clock, and this headache is not going away. In fact, it's getting worse. And it's starting to impede on the day. So at this stage, Julia is thinking, okay, what are my options? I can get Tylenol, I have some scents I can smell, I can drink water, I can ignore it. Again, a lot of entrepreneurs make the mistake of jumping in with a solution. You need Tylenol, here are 3. And then they wonder why the person isn't buying. You said you have a problem, you know you need to look for the solution, I'm here, why aren't you buying? The reason is that at this stage, the person is considering all options. At this stage, what you want to do is you want to concentrate your efforts in providing more valuable information. So if we use our example where we said, you know, the 5 plants in the world that are known to cure headaches, and different pharmaceutical companies use those 5 plants, interestingly enough, Tylenol, and again, I'm making this stuff up, guys. Interestingly enough, Tylenol is the only company in the world that uses 4 of those ingredients. Go figure. And then leave it. But now the person is thinking, 4 powerful natural ingredients in Tylenol. What does that mean? That's what sets it apart. In the consideration stage, your person is looking for what is unique about you, and whether it fits in directly with what he or she is looking for. And this taps into core values. Does the person use pharmaceutical products? Or does the person use natural remedies? Does the person use oils? Or does the person use herbs? You see? This is not the stage to come sell. This is the stage to show what makes you different. And again, when you get that template from juliakatsivo.com, it takes you through the steps, and it does it in an easily digestible way because you're going to tell a story. And when you tell your story, you're going to see how these parts fit in. Now, the third stage is where we need to focus in a different way. The third stage is purchase. And broadly put, in our example, this is where it's now noon, and Julia's headache is just at a number 10. It's, you know, when your eye is twitching, and it's red, and you look like you have red eye, and you're just grouchy and growling, and you will swallow anything. This is the point where your core values and your needs kick in. Now, for Julia, in this example, she uses pharmaceuticals. Now, again, disclaimer, I'm making all this up. Okay, so Julia uses pharmaceuticals. She has a headache. She needs it gone. She needs it gone now. What is she going to do? She's going to be driven by her core values, her needs, and the stage of the buying cycle to go online and do what? Find out where the nearest Shoppers is, right? If not, ask the people around, does anyone have Tylenol? At that point, you could have a Tylenol bottle that says $1,200, and do you think she'll look at the price? She will go like, give me that, right? But this is not where we concentrate our efforts. No. Instead, we go to the person who we're having a conversation, and they say, I'm always tired. I could really use some relief. Oh, I have this amazing program, and if you sign up for it right now, you're going to get 10% off. Not only that, but I'm also going to give you added value. No. Or you meet them in the consideration stage. I am thinking about my options. I don't know if I want to speak with a therapist, a psychologist. I've been reading all these articles in Google. And unfortunately, this is where we think that we're the teachers of all teachers, and we jump in and we start saying, you are indecisive. You have a problem, you need to make a solution, you need to make a decision right now. If you don't make a decision right now, you obviously don't care about getting better. And because you don't care about getting better, you're going to get worse. Is that what you want to do? And the person's like, hey, you do not know me. Or you could meet the person at the third stage where they come over and they say this, I have a headache. It's been going on for about 5 hours. I still have a long day ahead of me. I am looking for, there we go. And what do you say? I've got Tylenol. You see that? So the key is knowing your person, where your person is, what your person needs, and what to give along the way so that you do not burn out, so that you do not push them away, so that you attract them at the right time, to not haggle with your prices or with your products and services, and so that you can keep growing. And that's why this template is so important. It will leave you with a smile. You will feel relieved. And even if you're not sure about who your client is or anything like that, it's a wonderful template to use because it'll force you to think about it. It'll force you to get that person in your mind and start painting a picture. And it'll force you to start thinking, where am I of the best use? And how can I use other platforms? So bearing this in mind, it's really important to then hear what our keynote speaker has to say and what our next speaker has to say, because it all ties in. There are no coincidences. So when you're taking your notes and you're doing what you do, understand that they're all parts that fit in, and be open to how you will use the information. Was that helpful at all? Yes. Yeah? That was helpful? Good stuff. I like that. So I use the Tylenol example because it's very clear, it's very quick to understand. I have to always throw in my disclaimer because afterwards someone will come up to me and offer me a natural remedy. I'm like, did you hear me when I said? And it doesn't work. But what I like to do too is to get one really brave person, bold action, who's going to give me their scenario or a scenario, and I'll quickly walk you through it. Yes, awesome. Tell us who the person is, real quick, or what the business is. Oh, and your name, we have to know her. She's Bold Action is right here.
Hi, my name is Paula, and my business is doing organization systems such as closets, garage, cabinetries, offices.
Do you specify with people who are moving, people who are deceased? Who do you find? Yeah, just pick any one of those.
New homeowners.
And they're downsizing or are they upsizing?
Mostly downsizing.
So they're going from the big house to the smaller house and they need to pack to let go or pack to move to the new place?
They're packing to move to the new place.
And they're coming from a bigger space, right? Yes. Okay, so just really quickly, I don't have all the information, but I'm going to give you a really quick scenario. And I'm going to use a couple. This couple has an amazing house that they got. It was gifted to them for their wedding. And this was back when parents did that, gift houses. My family members are here. Those days are gone. But the house is gifted to them. And it was a nice large house, and this is where they were going to build their dreams. And you know what happens too when they got married? They got all these things, right? All these presents. They had registries, but nobody went there. Instead, they just gave them what they wanted. So they ended up with all these things that they didn't open up, and they just kind of packed them away for years. And one day they blinked, and they looked at each other, and they realized, we're older now. Our children have just gone to first-year university. Time has flown. I don't need a home office anymore. What are we doing here? The heating costs are absurd. We don't have someone to shovel because they all grew up and left. And we didn't think about replacing them because, we were busy doing life. What do? We need to downsize. Okay. But at the same time, I'm still climbing up the ladder at work, and so are you. We have all these things that we have to go through, and I'm still feeling a little bit guilty because there's lots of presents that we didn't open, and we have cards that we should have sent out to say thanks, and we didn't do that. But instead, what I like to do is we like to go in Pinterest and Facebook, and we like to look at stuff, and we like to buy stuff, and we like to distract ourselves. So anytime we need to clean up and move, we do the opposite. We go just interact with other people and take on more stuff. But we need to move because the house is closing, and we need to go to another place. So the awareness stage was when they woke up and they realized that, oh, our situation has changed. So in that particular case, what you would be doing as a professional organizer is you would be giving out information that is of general interest to people. For example, the kind of information you might give is, something interesting, people don't plan for what they're going to do with all their stuff and their houses when the children go to university. Ideally, you should start looking into that kind of thing when they're about 3 years to go. It may sound like you're being a little bit too proactive, but the truth is time flies. And you want to start knowing what you're going to do with your stuff, and if you want to move, where you're going to go. And this will ease the process for you and make things go faster. That's information. But now I know. And then when you get to that stage where like, okay, we've identified a house, we're definitely going to move, we have a closing date, so we have a deadline. So in the very beginning, you have awareness. In the consideration stage, we always have to have something that's pushing people toward change. And usually that's a deadline or a change in the household or the workplace. So you have a deadline, the house is closing. And what you do at that end is you have these interactions with real estate agents, and you let them know that, if you look at someone and you keep telling them, okay, we need to take stuff down because we need to show your house and they don't seem to be moving further along, you need to refer those people to me because I get it. And what I'll do is I'll help them quickly pack up so that they can downsize. But you need to connect me with them. That's the consideration stage. That's the point when people are looking at their options. Should I call a professional organizer? Should I buy all my buddies pizza and beer at the very last minute and have them come in and stick whatever they want? Or should we throw everything out? That's the consideration stage. And the kind of information you're providing at that time is how to conveniently do things. How to do things quickly. because you're always going to go for something like you're going to save your clients time, or you're going to save them money, or you're just going to make their life easier somehow. And that's the information they need to know at that time, is how. So if you have a system whereby you say, you know what, we have a lockbox, leave your key in it. By the time you come in, your stuff will be packed and gone away. That might work if your ideal client is someone who thinks, I just don't want to come home and see stuff. If there's a way someone can come in and do this for me, I don't care who you are, that's what I want. At that time, you've provided such information. That's the distinguishing factor. What makes you different? There's something that you do for your clients that others don't do. What is it? For this particular example, this person will go into the home and just clear everything out and leave it nice and clean so that when you come back from work, everything's taken care of. And then you have the purchase part. And for the purchase part, that's when you clearly say, do you need to move, to downsize, and do you need to do this in 2 weeks? Where you clearly hit what the need is, timeline, so that you get yes, 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 and then it's, let's get started right now. And on your website, you're going to have that button that says book now. You're not going to have information. You're going to have something that says book now, because your person is ready now. And the person wants to know now what they can do. So they want to go on the website, or they want to call a number that says, hi, thank you, you've reached me. When are you ready? We can do this on Monday morning or Tuesday afternoon. Does that help? Is that helpful? Does anyone see how this works? Okay, so this was just using that information. I did tell you I'm a fiction writer, right? Yes, it really, but it's going into that psyche and then figuring it out. Now, if you have more questions, please get that download. It's there, right? It'll come up. It'll come up. But that's key information. It saves you time. It helps you. You get to know what to focus on and that sort of thing. How do we feel so far? Good stuff. All right. So we're going to do this. We're going to get up and we're going to go to someone that you haven't gone to before. And we're going to do this for about a minute or two, and then we're going to bring up our keynote speaker. And this time what you're going to ask each other is, what does an awareness stage look like for you? Just play with it.